Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. All right, so CryptoCon here posting this. Bitcoin had a perfect support retest at the MVRVZ level, and there's a gargantuan gap between here and the cycle top zone. Once again, guys, we are getting very, very close to that cycle top. If you take a look at this chart here, this is CryptoCon's MVRV-Z support and cycle tops. You guys can see, look at how the trends played out in the past, the 2017 bull run, and then we had the 2021 bull run. Very, very distinct patterns here. If you guys are look here on the chart, compare that to just down here. If you take a look, support retest, then we did shoot up to the top of this zone here, the cycle top zone. Well, guys, this is where we are now. Just ready for that last pop off top. If you take a look down here, and just getting back to the chart here, April 2025, the end of April 2025, looking to be, well, at least setting up to be, well, a bullish next few months, we are hoping. So he goes on to say here, other cycles make it obvious that the cycle top part of the cycle is missing. How could I be anything but bullish here? I mean, just taking a look at this, I think it is very apparent that we should in fact be very, very bullish. If, we take a look at Bitcoin here on the chart. This is the daily chart, by the way. You guys can see Bitcoin still just kind of making its way up very, very slowly here. We've been seeing ups and downs, but when you zoom out on the daily, this trend continuing to move upward, you guys can see that is forming an upward channel, albeit a small one here, but an upward channel. So that's positive news, similar to what we saw again. I talked about this, I think it was yesterday, similar to what we saw back in November of 2024 before we did see Bitcoin reach a peak up here. So guys, the pattern checking out, zooming in on the 1 hour, just a bunch of noise at the moment. So we luckily we're making our way up. That's the positive news. There's nothing here suggesting that anything strange is happening, I guess, in the crypto space. We're still at neutral at 52 market cap, down by a little bit, only by about 0.5%. And the CMC 100, that's down by even less, 0.28%. Altcoin season still nowhere in sight. It's still a wait and see game, guys. Most altcoins are down by single digits. So again, not a lot of liquidity entering the market at the moment. When we take a look at XRP, let's just take a look at XRP right now. Hourly, I mean, yeah, it's kind of getting a little annoying on the hourly. We're moving up, we're moving down. We did see that high back on Monday, the 28th of $2.36. And now XRP trading down and around here, $2.22.7. So almost $2.23 after, the short-term trend is or has been moving downward. Let's take a look at XRP, though, on the daily. If we look at it on the daily, though, the trend is moving up. So we did get back down from this April 7th low. That was a very, very low, $1.61. And we have been making progress here, making higher highs on the longer time frame and higher lows. So that is always important, guys. When in doubt, zoom out. And for more information on what I'm doing this bull run, you can follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel, because this bull run is going to be different than others. Even though we are seeing, CryptoCon's chart here, I mean, I guess maybe the one consistent thing that might remain the same is if you're invested in Bitcoin, that might remain the same. That is the driver of the market. But when it comes to these utility coins, you do not want to be left behind, and I've already identified this. So patreon.com/workingmoneychannel if that's something you're interested in following. Wrath of Kahneman posting this. Buckle up. Over the next 18 months, expect the social media tug of war about XRP to intensify as convictions XRP is set to explode with regulated entities and tokenization face narratives. Ripple is moving from XRP to the RLUSD. Both can be true. They are, in fact, related. I'm wary of the truth presented only in simple binaries. So is XRP going to do well? Is it not going to do well? Well, those are the binaries that Wrath of Kahneman does not want to get mired in. RLUSD can't scale, says Yan Bima. No, that's not true. No, it's not true. America will mothball the Federal Reserve debt note, eventually replacing all with sound assets, RLUSD, as our Treasury refinances our debt over the course of time. This coming from Rob Cunningham. I believe this is the trajectory we're actually on. I think, there is a restructuring. We have been hearing Donald Trump talking about a reset. Many different people in the Trump administration, Howard Lutnick and Scott Bessent, all discussing, this very it's a very abstract term right now. A reset, a financial reset. What does that mean when it comes to the US dollar? When it comes to the world reserve currency? We know stablecoin legislation is likely going to play a large role in this, considering the RLUSD. has just been created. And considering how cozy Ripple is with the White House, is the RLUSD going to play a large role in this? Again, these are all questions we must ask ourselves when looking into 2025 and how the crypto market's going to react. Based Perspective says AI XRP, Wrath of Kahneman. XRP's future looks intertwined with regulated entities and tokenization. AMMs offer liquidity, but watch for impermanent loss. Fun fact, XRP might hit a huge technical milestone by 2025. Dynamic times for the XRPL ecosystem. So, yeah, it's a crossroads. I think that, we are now at a crossroads where the utility really will scale at this point in time. We have to be ready for it. So wanted to thank the Wrath of Kahneman for posting that. Subjective Views guys posting this this interview. I think this is with CoinDesk or Cointelegraph here. Rostin Benham and Patrick McHenry. They're talking about the new crypto regulation, CFTC to receive new authority over a commodity digital token. That's going to be one of the new classifications. Listen to this.
The gates. Let's open the gates to this market structure bill. Russ, when you look at the way that this is being parsed out right now, what do you like? What don't you like?
Well, look, the number one thing I like right now is that there's a serious conversation, and the direction of travel seems to be that the CFTC is going to get new authority over commodity digital tokens, which, as I've said many, many times, in terms of the quantity of tokens, they may and are largely probably more security tokens on one side of the ledger than commodity tokens. But when you look at the actual market cap and the size of the digital ecosystem, whether it's Bitcoin, ETH, and a few others, you're talking about 70+% of the market capitalization of the market. And that was the thing that worried me the most as a former regulator, is that you have this huge swath of the market living in a regulatory vacuum. And there were multiple, entities who took advantage of that space, that arbitrage opportunity. So I do like that. I do think that there has to be one of the trickier things is going to be striking the right balance. And I look forward to seeing a second iteration on top of and following Patrick's FIT 21 bill last Congress, to ensure that there are no loopholes for the securities laws, to ensure that the regulators have clear direction from Congress, which is always, always, always very important, but also preserving sufficient flexibility. And I think as a regulator, that is a key element. Sonali, you mentioned this and suggested it multiple times, that the industry is constantly evolving and technology is constantly disrupting itself. And with that, the regulators are always going to be at least one step behind, if not more, and preserving and ensuring that there's some level of flexibility at the executive branch is so critical, so that if and when things do change, the agencies can continue to evolve with advised or amended rules, as opposed to having to go back to Congress all the time and saying, hey, this is a little bit outdated. Can you update it with a new version? That is very difficult. We've seen that over the past couple of years. So striking that right balance is key, and making sure that the authorities are provided, but also flexibility for both agencies, given the existing law that they have applied right now.
Right. I mean, to that account, what we did with FIT 21 last Congress is define to the best extent possible decentralization. And that was the core of what FIT 21 was, and I think is. The most effective way to determine decentralization is control. Who controls it? If it can be controlled by a small group, then it's a security. Come on, get over it, right? And if it's not controlled by a small group, then it's a commodity. Let's make it a simple, straightforward test that you can't game, and that is not complicated. I think you could go a step deeper now in this lawmaking exercise with market structure, and get into a question of token classification. Classifying tokens based off their utility and their purpose, and regulating them according to their utility and purpose. So token classification could be an addition to the market structure bill that we passed out of the House last Congress.
So it was a bit of a longer clip, but I hope you guys did catch some of those more important concepts. Regulating over cryptocurrencies as commodity digital tokens, but there are going to be different classifications. Now, Rostin Benham is part of the CFTC. He used to be part of the SEC. He understands how different cryptocurrencies, this is a new generation. Not that Gary Gensler had any excuse. He should have known what he was doing, but that's a whole other story. But it's looking like we are getting more clarity with people that are more level-headed, I guess we could say, regarding cryptocurrencies. Now, I just wanted to show you guys this other clip here. XRP is deliberately being kept in the shadows. Okay, in this clip, they discuss the utility of cryptos. We know the cryptocurrency that is going to have the biggest impact, especially in the US, but it seems like they want to talk about everything related to crypto without actually giving it a name. Listen to this.
Just a thought. One, it makes me think about, the collective public has been consumed by the speculative nature of digital assets, right? And for good reason. It catches attention. There's been some great falls over the past couple of years, but as Patrick suggested and alluded to, there is an underlying technology that is essentially driving this ecosystem, this token ecosystem, which then leads to the trading of the assets. So there's a lot of interesting. I did not focus on those particular issues when I was chair of the CFTC. That was not the remit of the agency or my job, but there is something that sort of it is kept in the shadows, I think, by virtue of the louder noise, speculative nature of the tokens seems to have and manifest. And I think that's going to be interesting to see evolve because it is very early days for that technology. And it is going to continue to prod on, and rules of the road, I think, will facilitate growth and where it goes. And it can be very disruptive, both on the beneficial side, but on the risk side to traditional finance and the rails and the plumbing that really drive our financial system. The second part, very quickly, is where does this fit, a decentralized financial system, fit within the current regulatory system itself? Because we are not accustomed to that. We are accustomed to a very centralized financial system where you have very clear intermediaries and exchanges and custodians and clearinghouses all along this sort of value chain of the financial plumbing system. And I think this is going to be another very tricky question, one that I've thought about, Patrick and I have talked a lot about, is where and how do you strike the right balance between understanding and appreciating the unique characteristics of a decentralized system and why it's unique from a centralized system, and why it doesn't necessarily necessitate the same regulatory vigor or requirements, but on the other hand, certainly cannot live in a regulatory vacuum, right? And I think there are some participants in that space who believe that is and should be the case. But I would say, exhaustively, it sounds like Patrick agrees, and I hope Congress and the regulators will follow suit, is that regardless of the decentralized nature of any new or 2.0 that might come down the road, there has to be some very clear, important intersections with the regulatory system. The on-off ramp, AML, KYC, BSA is critical, but there are also other components from a market standpoint in order to truly protect customers that have to be implemented in a decentralized world.
Institutions are not going to get on board unless there is some kind of regulatory clarity. And this is exactly what Ross and Benham is explaining here. Cryptocurrency is a new emerging asset class, but the big players won't jump on board unless they see a clear path ahead. One of those big players is Finastra, guys, and they've had a leg up because they do business internationally. Ripple partner Finastra did just release new messaging transformation services for MT to ISO 20022. This is the latest update, courtesy of Mike Manfield here. They just launched a messaging format translation service for banks, switching from Swift MT messaging to the new ISO 20022 standard. So Finastra, Ripple enabled, they do the back-end work for a lot of these big banks around the world. They are now coming out with this new transformation service so that all banks can comply with the new ISO 20022 standard by November of 2025, as you guys can see it down in here. While conceptually straightforward, the practical implementation across the payment chain has been beset by multiple delays and presents several challenges for banking originating and receiving messages for a corporate ERP system. They talk a little bit about the benefits of the messaging standard. These institutions must ensure that their back office systems can send and receive MX messages to and from their counterparty or face serious business disruptions. Embedded as an API-based microservice with the Finastra financial messaging platform, the transformation service is available to customers running on the SaaS model through managed workflows. It's also available as a consumable API via Finastra's financial messaging new self-serve portal where users can access microservice with a try before you buy feature. So they're really looking to elevate their clients' experience, make sure that they understand how this new service is going to transform I think not necessarily their business, but how the business is done. Finastra is a Ripple partner, and Ripple is the first company to get onto the ISO 20022 standard. And so here we just have another development, a Ripple-related company here, updating banking technology so that all of these banks do fit the new standard by November of 2025. So I wanted to thank Mike for that. Jack McDonald, guys, posting this. Okay, with regards to the RLUSD, the March monthly independent attestation for RLUSD is now live. RLUSD is available on new exchanges, including Kraken FX. We've integrated RLUSD into Ripple payments for select customers, plus announced the acquisition of Hidden Road, which will use RLUSD as collateral for its clients, creating a critical bridge between crypto and traditional finance. RLUSD is also being utilized in DeFi liquidity pools such as Aave and Curve Finance. As always, you can find the report here. So that's from Ripple's direct website there, ripple.com. And I will link this in the description if you guys are interested. This is the way we're seeing it move, guys. RLUSD breaking ground. Of course, XRP, going back to this Wrath of Kahneman tweet here. XRP, and the relationship to the RLUSD, there's no binaries here. It's going to evolve as we do see the ecosystem evolve and as we see the landscape develop and become more and more crypto friendly, which makes way for XRP investment in terms of, us XRP holders hodling XRP for the long term, and we hodl actual XRP. But guys, there's also the ETFs. More details after speaking with ETF guru James Seyfarth. So apparently, this coming from Eleanor Turret, apparently these dates are all intermediate, and we will likely see the final decisions on a lot of the crypto ETFs in Q4. For XRP spot ETFs, James is eyeing mid-October, around the 18th, as a final decision deadline. It's possible, though, that the SEC won't take all that time to make its decision, but a lot will hinge on how actively they engage on the application. So this is the application down in here. Actually, here, this is where I saw, this is another one, okay. This is one of the more important ones. The SEC has delayed making a decision on Franklin Templeton's by June the 17th. So we've got a lot of dates floating around here, but as you guys know, there are a lot of ETFs that still do need to be approved. But with regards to Franklin Templeton, guys, this is one of the biggies. June 2025 is looking to be that deadline. The SEC has postponed its decision on Franklin Templeton's spot XRP ETF application, setting a new review deadline for June 17th, 2025. The ETF, officially known as the Franklin XRP Fund, was filed through CBOE BZX exchange and initially entered the Federal Register on March the 19th. The SEC was expected to rule by May 3rd, but cited the need for additional time to evaluate the proposed rule changes. And there are the rule changes there. They manage over $1.5 trillion, guys. Okay, remember, this is a big company. $1.5 trillion in assets, is the largest asset manager so far to seek approval for a spot XRP exchange-traded fund product. The application follows a surge of interest from institutional players and crypto-based funds joining similar efforts. And then they name some smaller companies, including Grayscale, Bitwise, WisdomTree, and 21 Shares. Why this is big? Well, guys, there's just another tweet here from Whale Fud saying that they are extending June 17th. It is big because of the sheer size and the kinds of investors that this could attract. So Bill Morgan here saying, oddly, the delay of the ETF approval to June 17th, 2025 is to a date that falls just after the expiry of the 60-day period of which a status report must be filed by the SEC in the SEC versus Ripple appeal pursuant to the court order dated April 16th, 2025. So it is very interesting how they're deciding to choose these dates. The other thing that I wanted to mention about these dates and how these dates align, okay? And I just want to take it from a technical perspective because narrative is everything. And, sometimes it's strange how these things do line up. I want to just take it from here. And with regards to XRP price, with regards to an impulsive move, back in 2017, we saw this bullish pennant pattern being formed on the chart. And it took a little while before we did see it move to the upside. It actually took roughly from the top here, it took roughly 207 days, give or take, before we did see another impulsive move, guys. And that impulsive move from down in here was another, let's call it about 1,400%, give or take. So 207 days, if we are to just, take a look at this trend here, and if we are to assume that this is forming what is looking like that similar bullish pennant pattern, where would 207 days bring us from today's trend? And I just wanted to do this for fun because, we are getting very, very close. And I want to say, a lot of this time, I think we find ourselves very close, in terms of timing for when these trends tend to pop, especially since we are still technically in a 4-year cycle. Check that out, guys. We're in June 2025, even if it's not June 17th. It's only 10 days after that, June 27th, 2025. And for all intents and purposes, if we do go up another 1,400% from here, I mean, let's just do this for fun, guys. Where would that take us? 1,400% for an XRP? Well, that takes us in and around $34.41. And let me just show you guys something really, really interesting. I know I've popped a Fibonacci here on the chart before using this same kind of technique. You throw a regular Fibonacci on this most recent move, you get to the 4.236, only hitting around $9 and change. But guys, if you line up the 0.236, the red line here, with that, look at how close we get to the 4.236, hitting $34.41 per coin for one XRP. So will we see the beginning of that by June of 2025, just based on the historical XRP move that we saw back in 2017? I think there are so many other bullish factors involved that could get XRP to double digits and even higher than that. But that's just my opinion. I'm taking 2025 very, very seriously. I do not want to make the same mistakes twice. I'm going to be cashing out for profit, holding some XRP for the long term. And for more information on what I'm doing specifically, you can follow me at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. That's just my opinion, though. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.